time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth and Will Pelagic. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
We have experience at the receiver position. We have experience at the tight end position. We've got year 2 of our offensive line. So there's a lot more that we can do. And it's not only because of Jake Bentley, but it's because of also the experienced snaps around him.
He probably had maybe as good a day as we've had by a quarterback around here yesterday in a long, long time. I mean, just unbelievable.
Some interesting messages coming out from the two head coaches on Saturday following the big scrimmages, the first big scrimmages of preseason camp for USC and Clemson. Will Muschamp, Dabo Swinney. We'll hear more from both tonight, including Will Muschamp live here on Sports Talk in about 10 minutes. Welcome in. Phil Kornbluth, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes is with us. We also have a Jared Rogers Martin along for the ride tonight. Your best 2 hours of the day about to unfold in front of you across the state. Hope you had a great weekend. Boy, had a great weekend until about, I don't know, 10:45, 11 o'clock last night.
Uh-oh. Couldn't sleep?
Not after that.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
How does a left-handed rookie up for 2 weeks hit a 103-mile-an-hour fastball out of Yankee Stadium?
How did I know he was going to lead with the Yankee Red Sox?
How does that
thing?
happen? It was pure luck.
Oh.
He just closed his eyes and swung the bat. Just pure luck.
FIL Devers, man. Got to love it.
I love the at-bat with Ramirez, though. That was hilarious. That was one of those, I can't see it.
By the way, I
give up.
It's grudge match day today between you and me.
It is indeed. We put a little wager down? What you got? You got any money?
I'm not going there.
Do I still owe K-Mac money from his tenure with us?
I would love to see you.
You owe Methuselah money.
I would love to see you after the Mets take 3 out of 4 come in here and have to wear a Met hat on Friday.
There is no way a Met hat would fit on this head. Are we playing 4? That's right.
4,
2 and 2.
2 at each.
2 at our place, 2 at your place. Okay, we'll do a little something.
Oh, you're a big Mets fan?
I wouldn't say I'm a big Mets fan. I'm the biggest Mets fan,
okay.
which is the worst thing in the world.
So you know the question I'm about to ask you.
What's that?
Why are the Mets colors blue and orange?
Because they took the blue from the Dodgers and the orange from the Giants.
That's a Mets fan.
Yeah. Not too many.
And the pinstripes from the Yankees.
That's a Mets fan.
Not too many people would know that.
And they took the failure from the New York Jets. So there you go.
It all fits. Jets, Mets,
all that.
Nets.
Yeah.
All kind of go hand in hand.
All bad.
But on to football. USC is practice this afternoon. And like I said, Muschamp will join us here in just a couple of minutes. So we'll get the first word from him, the only word from him, because he's not doing any media today except for us, as far as I know. So we'll find out how practice went, an update on some injuries, the tough news for them over the weekend that the freshman is Jalen Dickerson is out for the season with the shoulder. Chris Smith is another defensive back who's had some injury issues. He did not elaborate on that. Maybe we can find out more if there's anything more to learn about that tonight. But the thing I took from Muschamp was he feels pretty good about his front 11 on defense.
He does.
I think that he made the comment in the press conference after the scrimmage that his starting 11 on defense, he feels like they can go to battle with and do pretty well. Now, they are concerned about backups and injuries and things of that nature. Then at Clemson, apparently on Friday, Kelly Bryant had the greatest practice in the history of Clemson quarterbacks under Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
And then the defense went out and kicked butt on Saturday, which, if you're a Clemson
fan,
heard
his comments on Friday.
Well, yeah. If you're a Clemson fan, it's sort of like, it's half full or half empty. You're happy your defense is doing great, but you'd like to see your offense perhaps go out and do a little bit more. Our poll question on our website this week, SportsTalkSC.com, how will Clemson fare against Auburn, Louisville, and Virginia Tech? 2 of those on the road in September. That's as tough a start as anybody's going to face in terms of the competition. Right now, 38% of the votes say the Tigers will go 2-1. 24% say they'll go 3-0. 15% Gamecock fans are saying 0-3.
Right.
For the Tigers.
I'm very curious on all 3 of those games, but I'm almost as curious about the Virginia Tech game as I am about any of the other two because of the fact of where it's placed. It's placed after a game against Boston College, and I think too because of that, you're almost going to have kind of I don't want to say a letdown, but there's just a cumulative effect that I think all of these physical matchups, the Auburn and the Louisville, the cumulative effect that all of those will have on that Virginia Tech matchup, especially depending on how those first two go. I think Louisville will be a track meet. I think even though Clemson's defense does bring a lot to the table and they bring a lot of a reloaded type of situation from last year, I just think so much of what Louisville does offensively could give them fits, especially when you think about the fact that you do have the defending Heisman Trophy winner on that roster.
Yeah, but the thing about Louisville, you want to think of mentally, did they shake off that those doldrums of the end of the season, including the dropping a game to Kentucky at the end of the season,
and then getting drilled in the in the bowl game.
But the good thing,
was it LSU that handled them in the bowl game?
Yes,
somebody manhandled them.
Yeah, and
it was LSU. Yes.
Yeah, the key point is Louisville's defense. They lost a lot. Now they swear they have some people that they've reloaded with, but I just can't see that defense being as good as it was the year before. And they catch Virginia Tech, who has to plug in a new quarterback. We'll see how their new quarterback fares. And they catch Auburn pretty early too with a new signal caller.
Although I like Auburn's signal caller a lot more than I like Virginia Tech, because that Jarrett Stidham, I mean, you saw what he did at Baylor. He was able to command that offense and make it go. I mean, the reason he transferred has nothing to do with his playing ability and everything to do with the situation that's going on at Baylor.
Yeah, they announced today, Gus Malzahn did, that it will be Stidham, the starting quarterback for Auburn when they open the season. And, of course, he stays healthy. He'll be the guy that will open up against Clemson, and he beat out Sean White, who started 10 games last season. White had some injuries, and that was part of his issue during the offseason. But Stidham's he's just a big-time quarterback with a big-time arm, and he runs pretty well for a big guy.
He's very, very mobile, and I think, too, he'll offer a lot more diversity in that Auburn offense. I know that they're always going to want to try to run the football under Gus Malzahn, but in my mind, so much has to come out of Stidham in order for them to be able to have any success this year.
All right, let me do this real quick, too, because we got a break coming up. For those of you following along with us on Twitter, not that we can't handle the questions, but there could be something that you want asked of Will Muschamp that might not pop up in our heads. Shoot us a quick tweet at SportsTalkSC with a direct question for Muschamp, and we'll be happy to pass along if we can fit it into our conversation. We of course, have plenty of other things to ask him about. Then we'll take your phone calls coming up, 800-956-7266.
Now, I was about to say, I think Gus Malzahn found out last year that when he started to play too much musical chairs with his quarterbacks, his offense never had any rhythm until you decided, well, I'm going with White, and this is who we're going with. And then suddenly I think his play calling got better. So I think he learned his lesson last year about panicking and shifting quarterbacks.
Two quick college football notes. Kentucky, starting left tackle Cole Mosier, torn ACL.
Oof.
That's not good.
That ends his career.
That's dumb.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's bad.
Frank Broyles passed away today, 92. He'd been ill for many years. Of course, won a national championship at Arkansas, but most people probably remember him for his TV work alongside Keith Jackson.
Yeah, who was the quarterback? Who was the coach at Notre Dame they took out of high school from Cincinnati? Faust.
No, yes. Faust.
Yeah.
Jerry Faust.
Yeah, that was that word that he was off the air, and he was with Chris Schenkel. He said, Chris, Notre Dame's running a high school offense. No, but I'm not going to say it on the air. I'm not going to criticize.
So he was on the air?
Faust. No, he wasn't on the air, but that was the story.
Okay.
That he kept moaning all when they were off the air.
Yeah.
That this is a high school offense.
Yeah.
Running.
Not good.
Yeah. All right. Sorry to hear about his passing. Steve Spurrier, for those of you who have XM and Sirius, he's going to be joining their College Sports Nation crew beginning tomorrow. And every Tuesday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, he's going to be doing a different time slot. That should be, if he's Steve Spurrier, which I think he will be, that could be a lot of fun.
Could he talk about Florida that long?
Yeah. Or himself. I'm sure he'll figure it out. All right, we'll be right back with Will Muschamp. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here on a Monday from downtown Columbia. Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Tom Hayes with you. Let's welcome in USC football coach Will Muschamp, who just got off the practice field a few minutes ago. Coach, how are you?
Well, it was really hot out there today, Phil. I'll be honest with you. We had a good, but we needed it.
Yeah.
We're going to play at 3 o'clock on September 2nd. We scrimmaged Saturday at 3 o'clock, and we had this practice planned next Monday. This Monday in the afternoon. We need to get in the heat some, and we've been practicing mostly in the morning. And I was, for the most part, pretty proud of our guys that they battled through it.
Anything from today's practice you can share with us? Any injury updates, anything like that?
No, actually, knock on wood, things have gone pretty well for us. We had some overtime work, a third overtime where you got to go for two. Jake Bentley hit Debo Samuel on the second play of overtime, and 2-point conversion failed. But it was a great throw and catch by those two guys. I'm looking forward to seeing that this fall. But again, I think that after 12 practices, I don't know that we've taken a step back as an entire team. There's been some position groups that we certainly would like to have better and perform a little bit better, but I've been very proud of how the guys have come out and worked. And, I told them before camp started, really good teams, championship teams that I've been a part of, one national, another one that played for a national championship and multiple conference championships. They embraced camp. And the average teams I've been a part of bitched about camp. And so you can either have one attitude or the other. At the end of the day, a positive attitude doesn't guarantee anything, but a negative one does.
Yeah.
And I think from that standpoint, the leadership of our team's been solid. And our guys have tried to embrace what we've asked them to do, and I've been, we've made some progress.
The one thing I took from your comments Saturday after the scrimmage, you said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, you take your top 11 on defense and go to war now. I got the feeling that you feel pretty good about your first unit defense. Am I correct in assuming that?
Yes, I do. I think that, the depth concerns you, and again, I emphasize not about talent, but experience. And, at the end of the day, right now our second group of linebackers, Sherrod Green and Eldridge Thompson, I think they're good players. I think they're going to be fine, but they need to continue to progress and get more game ready to be able to back up Sky and TJ. There's no doubt about that. And obviously Bryson can be in that mix as well. But, up front, Taylor Stallworth's done some really good things. Dante Sawyer, Keir Thomas continues to be a guy that progresses the right way. I've been pretty pleased with him, but we just need to be more consistent inside right now. We need more consistent performers inside. I thought Uric Jones had his best practice since I've been here today. I thought he battled through the element, and for a big man over 300 pounds to take the number of snaps that we took today and push him like we did, I was proud of him. So we just got to get more guys consistently doing it right. It's one thing to have a good day today, and then tomorrow you don't know what you're going to get. And that oftentimes that goes back to youth. They don't know how to focus every single day and go and practice the way you're supposed to. And that's what we got to get is more consistent.
South Carolina head coach Will Muschamp joining us here on Sports Talk. Will, after watching the film Saturday, what were you able to pick up from watching it that you might not have seen live Saturday?
Well, I felt like it's Saturday we did not sustain. We lost our focus. We treated it just like a game. We went out and played real football, tackle, got after it hard. Each group got about 40 snaps in the early going of it, or 30 snaps in the early going of it. We came back and did some situational work where each group got about 20, 25 snaps. At the end, we went at halftime. We came back out of halftime. We didn't have a lot of gas. And that concerns you, but it was only 11th practice. The legs are starting to get a little heavy on it, and certainly we didn't battle through the elements as like we needed to at a lot of places. But I think some guys did. But, you can't go out and survive today. You got to go out and strive to get better. And we've got a group doing that. We've got to continue to get more.
You're talking about your depth on defense and razor thin beginning of the camp at linebacker. How are the youngsters who must play this year, how are they progressing?
Well, Sherrod Green and Eldridge Thompson, two guys that have come in and done a nice job for us. I've been very, very pleased with their performance. They're where you want them to be as far as what they're trying to learn and their effort, and as far as the mental and physical side of it. Damani Staley had a good day Saturday. He showed up and did some things. He's definitely going to help us on special teams. But then he needs to continue to progress. And then Bryson's a guy that can play inside and outside. So he's a guy that can play. He gives us some depth that we don't really need to rep him as much inside as opposed to get any more reps on the edges where he needs to.
Well, we're talking about some young guys on defense and some names. Just kind of update us on how guys like Jamias Williams, Javon Kinlaw, Shamik Blackshear, Brad Johnson. How do you see those guys progressing? How much? I imagine Jamias will help you a lot, but just generally speaking about those guys, what do you think?
Well, I think that for the first time in the stadium, for the first time when the coach is completely off the field, dealing with crowd noise, which we piped into the stadium so they couldn't hear their coach telling them how to line up, with our coaches like to do that at practice. So they didn't hear that for the first time. So it gets a little, concerning for them, creates a little angst, a little anxiety, which is good. They need to go through that. And some of those, they just didn't form of the names you brought up consistently as you want. But at the end of the day, we got to get those guys ready to play. And we told those guys when we recruited them, you're coming into a situation, you need to be mature enough to handle playing game one. And we need to do a good job, schematically, of not putting too much on their plate, but give them enough to where we've got enough utility in the closet on September 2nd to give somebody some problems. But all of those guys are going to help us this year. How much depends on how they continue to progress through camp.
Coach, how do you quantify the effect that your new offensive line coach has had on that unit, which I know has been a source of concern for you in the past?
Well, I think that, again, you got some guys back that had some injuries. Corey Helms and Allen Knott both last year dealt with some injuries. They've had a good 12-month of a lifting cycle with Jeff Tillman, which that's been noticeable. Zach Bailey can play right tackle for us and play well for us. DJ Park, Donnell Stanley, those guys need to continue to come on for us. Darius Hutchinson inside. We got a battle going on at left tackle with Malik and Dennis Daly, two guys that are certainly talented enough, and I think we've made some strides there. I think that we're further along offensively. Last year a lot of burden was put on our offensive line in some run game situations. It's protections. We flat out, Phil, we couldn't get in and out of some things, and it wasn't just at quarterback either. I mean, we had freshman running back, we had a first-year tight end, we had freshman receivers. So it wasn't like it was just to put all the blame on one position. It was multiple spots where we just didn't, we weren't able to get in and out of things. We can do that now. We can go to the line of scrimmage, and Jake can get us out of a bad look in the run game. He can get us where he can manipulate the protection and change the protection. That's not something we could do last year. And we chose to call it and haul it in a lot of situations, and we ran into some tough looks. So now we're able to do that with experience now at all of those positions, because they're all back in another year in our scheme and system and what we're trying to do. But Eric Wolford's done a fantastic job of toughness to our guys, and I've been very pleased.
Can this offense average 30 points a game?
I hope so. They promised me they would.
They promised you they would.
Well, at the end of the day, we need to do what it takes to win games. If it means winning 10-7, I'm going to be happy. If it means win 40-37, I'm going to be happy. We need to do what it takes to win. We do have some good weapons. Debo Samuel, Brian Edwards, Hayden Hurst, Rico Donnell, A.J. Turner, Tyson Williams, are all guys that I think are really good players. Obviously, I think Jake Bentley will distribute the ball extremely well and get us in and out of the right looks. But it's all about doing what it takes to win. I'm not worried about how many points we average.
Listen, we know you got to get to a meeting, and we really appreciate your time coming right off the practice field on what was a hot, humid day. And good luck the rest of camp, and look forward to you're going to enjoy the eclipse a week from tonight? Going to stand outside and look at the moon or the sun or whatever it is?
No, we got to get ready for practice that night. So it's during the day, I believe. So we'll be watching tape. I'm going to hide my eyes. They say it's bad for your eyes. I don't want to get out there and hurt my eyes.
That's what I hear. Hey, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Take care.
We appreciate it. Will Muschamp, USC football coach, right off the practice field, because they went out this afternoon, not till about 4 o'clock or so, or 3:30, and just got off. So we appreciate him spending some time with us.
Well, it's interesting when they said they would move Hutchinson inside. That seems to me, just on the surface, if he can find some playing time there, that makes him more athletic inside the guard. Maybe they have some more guard pulling plays if he gets a chance to play.
We did have one question come in on Twitter asking about, will the corners play up tighter on receivers? Let me answer that for Muschamp.
Yes, they would. They should.
I think they feel more confident about the pass rush, and they can do that.
If you want to succeed.
Once again, thanks to Will Muschamp for joining us tonight here on Sports Talk.
It was good.
Well, every time I hear Muschamp talk,
Not that I was expecting him to be bad.
Yeah, in a press conference setting or an interview setting, I mean, the more impressed I am. I mean, he gets it, and I've said it here, and I've said it to speaking engagements and over again. I just don't see how he will not be successful at South Carolina, because I don't see that for him. This is not an end of the career stop like it was for Holtz and Spurrier. And it's not, I don't believe, a stepping stone stop for him, because, my goodness, if loyalty is a factor at all, he owes a lot to Ray Tanner in South Carolina for giving him a chance to jump back in as a head coach 1 year removed in the SEC with a very nice salary and everything else. I mean, he could really make this into something big and build a long-term successful program at South Carolina. He gets the part about recruiting, the part about the staff, the relationship with the players, and he's going to have every tool that a coach needs in today's world of college football to be successful. All the bells and whistles that a program has to have.
And I would think that the more that I've seen, and again, I have a shortened amount of exposure with him than you guys do, but I'm seeing the guy who went 11-2 in 2012. I'm not seeing the guy who went 4-8 in 2013 or 7-5 in 2014, his final year there. I'm seeing more of the characteristics of that guy we saw have success at Florida, get them to the Sugar Bowl, and have them play in Atlanta. I'm not necessarily saying that that's going to happen this year or even soon, but you see the first fruits of that guy that made him so successful.
Well, the key point is, I always say that talent is not finite. It's who's able to turn over the rocks and find those guys that may be overlooked. And Muschamp, with those camps that he has, where he had 200 or 300 players over a weekend,
more than that, I think.
He wants to see with his eyeballs what a guy can do. I don't care how many stars in his name, under his name, or behind his name. I'm looking at what I see that I want in a football player. And one thing he does want a guy is, he wants guys who hit, who's not afraid of contact.
He is not buying into all this new mentality with football, flag football, and I mean, not being dirty or anything like that. I mean, he certainly subscribes to the practice now of proper tackling and protecting yourself and no spearing and all that. But he is not backing away one iota from his belief that a good football team is the more physical football team, that the more physical team will win on Saturday. And he continues to preach that. He continues to run very difficult practices, and he does so in the hopes that it makes the game seem easier for his players. That's why they run such difficult, hard practices. So we'll see how it pays off for the Gamecocks, especially in that opener, preparing for a 3 o'clock kickoff in Charlotte on what should be a hot September afternoon.
And if you missed any of the conversation with Will Muschamp, it is now live on our website, SportsTalkSC.com.
Very good. All right, our phone number, 800-956-7266, 800-956-7266. And we got some news coming out of Clemson here. Give me just a second, and I'll pull it up here for you, because apparently Sweeney decided to speak with the media today.
Oh.
After at first he was not scheduled to. I'm just seeing a tweet from TigerNet. I'm trying to figure out what the deal is, because their tweet was, we figured something was up and we got word that Dabo Swinney was going to talk today. Now I'm trying to figure out what it is that they're talking about. Yeah, Twitter. You see anything yet?
I'm looking at it.
What do you see?
Instead of practicing, apparently they did a little skit with the freshmen dressing up in silly clothes and had a long karaoke session. So I'm guessing they might have canceled the practice today. And also there's a possibility that apparently a walk-on might have gotten a scholarship as well, offensive lineman Pat Godfrey. But that is all still waiting for confirmation on that.
Is that the big news we think we're looking for?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's kind of. Doesn't necessarily seem like that's the news we'd be waiting for, but who knows? We'll see.
All right, 800-956-7266. So we'll hear from Dabo from the Saturday scrimmage in which he felt like the defense was pretty strong. The offense did a few good things. The freshman running back, Travis Etienne, had a big run, and Kelly Bryant did some good things. He did have one tip ball intercepted by the big safety. Friday is the day that Kelly Bryant apparently really shined in practice, according to Dabo Sweeney.
And I think, interestingly enough, coming off of that, you want to be able to, as we've said last week, you want to see somebody take this job with a bull by the horns. And I think that any question who the starting quarterback is going to be on September 2nd, I think has been answered, because it seems to me that Bryant is the guy that they feel most comfortable with. He's the one who has seized the day, if you will. And I think, too, when you look at how this offense is going to function most effectively, it needs to be a guy under the same mold as what they had last year. Not to say that he is the same ability of Deshaun Watson, but he does have a lot of the same tools in the toolbox.
Okay, I misread this. So this is from our guy, David Hood. He figured something was up when they got word that the availability for today was being moved to Tuesday.
Gotcha.
And sure enough, the players arrived today and were told practice was canceled.
Gotcha.
Instead of practicing, the freshmen dressed up in silly clothes and had a long karaoke session.
So basically, they had their fun day of camp, so to speak.
Yeah. So that's why they moved it.
Too.
Yeah. So what he's trying to do, of course, Dabo being the psychoanalysis,
very cerebral of him. Yeah.
You guys come in like they're going to have another day of drudgery at work, and all of a sudden you find out you got the day off. Then Tuesday you better come out and bring it for real, which is what he's going to be expecting.
Right.
I think too. So nothing out of Clemson today, no practice, and no meeting with the media or anything like that. So we'll bring you some of what Dabo had to say after the scrimmage on Saturday. Our phone number, 800-956-7266. What's your take now that we've gone through the first major scrimmages for both teams? Kind of starting to get, camp seems like such a long run, especially this year with South Carolina actually starting in July and Clemson in early August. We still have a couple of more weeks to go before we get to the week of the games and things start to really focus on NC State and Kent State respectively. So how should you be feeling? I mean, if you're a Gamecock fan right now, I think your optimism should be very high about what is ahead. Now, the air can come out of the balloon in a hurry against NC State. For Clemson, obviously, every year they go in feeling very good. But the air could come out of the balloon against a very good Auburn team at home.
The thing about South Carolina's camp that I think encourages you is the fact that, and it goes back to something that we heard from Will Muschamp on Saturday, is the fact that it's not all about the fact that you have a year older version of Jake Bentley. It's that you have a three-headed monster running back. It's that you have Deebo Samuel and other skill position players around him. It's that you have remade that offensive line. And again, we'll see how it looks against other competition, but it isn't going to be all on the one man's shoulders to have to shoulder forward. In my opinion, there will be more tools available at Jake Bentley's disposal than he's ever had as a quarterback, whether it's at this level or any other.
Yeah. It's going. And the thing about it, Corn, is you can learn from other teams. You come out of the box and you lose a football game. North Carolina lost to one of the worst South Carolina teams in years and then reeled off 11 straight wins. So you cannot put all your eggs in that one game basket to begin the season.
But if you're
South Carolina, like to come out of the box winning it.
If you're the Gamecocks, and you're right, Pro, the opener does not define the season. But you got to turn around and go to Missouri. And we all know Missouri stinks.
Hey, now.
Their offense is kind of
quarterback could be
now.
dangerous.
Yeah.
Quarterback could be dangerous.
That offense is good. That defense, though, cannot stop a nosebleed.
It's a road game, though, in the SEC, and you sure don't want to come out of the gate 0-2. That would really be a deflating start for the Gamecocks with their fans and the hopes for what they're hoping will be a surprise season.
You had to take a shot at my alma mater, didn't you?
800-956-7266. Back in a moment.
one day they can't win the job in a day, and they can't lose the job in a day. It's really the totality of camp, and it all counts. All four did some good things. Again, Kelly had a couple of tough breaks. Unbelievable. And then yesterday, in a long, long time.
It is Sports Talk Monday edition from downtown Columbia. Sports Talk, of course, your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Your final word in sports every night in South Carolina. You're most informed, you're most intelligent. And when I'm talking, you might not realize this, Willie P.
What's
when
that?
I'm talking, it's your most handsome word in sports.
That's totally not true.
Well, who else would you say is more handsome than I?
I would
when it comes to talking sports, in terms of sports talkers. Jarmart, oh my gosh.
Your hair might be longer, but mine has more coverage, if you will.
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I cover the flanks, but you cover the middle and the flanks, which is nice. Stay in this job long enough, you'll see what happens.
I have the ladies of Soda City surrounded.
Is that right?
That's what it is.
They're already starting to learn about Willie P, huh? Your reputation precedes you or is being rebuilt here in Columbia?
I would say we are laying the foundation. We're recruiting very, very hardly.
Oh,
we're
recruiting.
Taking to the streets.
There we go. Yeah.
Maybe an official visitor too.
You got any commitments yet?
Verbal, but not. We'd say we have a solid verbal involved.
Oh, look at here already. Man doesn't waste any time.
Solid verbal.
And Jarmart's been here a year and can't get a date. I don't know what the deal is. What his problem? Well, I know what his problem is, and look in the mirror and you see what the problem is. But other than that.
Man, I thought I was the most handsome one on Sports Talk, and here I am just in the doghouse.
I think you're ranked fourth.
Ladies of Columbia, I'm in the gutter if you'd like me. That's Jarmart over there.
Listen, you couldn't pick up a date next Monday if you were giving away Eclipse glasses to the last woman on the street without Eclipse glasses.
What if they're looking at the eclipse and get blinded by the eclipse, and then he could
stumble into Jarmart? He stumbles into Jarmart.
The eclipse might actually help him.
That could happen.
If you're blinded by the eclipse, I'm your man. That's good.
All right, Dabo Sweeney. The Tigers had a big practice, not today. They had a fun day today, but Saturday, big scrimmage in the stadium. We touched on some of the highlights of that. And, of course, the quarterback situation is really not in flux. It's Kelly Bryant's job, and he has done nothing in this camp thus far to diminish his position as the Tigers' starting quarterback. And as Dabo said after the scrimmage on Saturday, look, he wasn't going to lose the job with anything that he did poorly on Saturday.
One day they can't win the job in a day, and they can't lose the job in a day. It's really the totality of camp. And it all counts. It was like I thought for Kelly, for example, he probably had maybe as good a day as we've had by a quarterback around here yesterday in a long, long time. I mean, just unbelievable. And then today, a little different environment, a little different situation. We didn't finish on a couple plays. We had a couple of things go wrong. But I still liked how he responded. I liked how he pushed through. Didn't have the production that he had yesterday. But he still did what he needed to do.
The consistency starting to come for him.
Yeah, he's been very consistent. He's been incredibly consistent, as far as just doing what we needed him to do. And as I think same thing with Eric and Hunter. And in that little chase, he kind of won't go away. He's got a little swag to him. He's got a lot of talent. I think all four of those guys are progressing the way we want.
I'd be more worried if the defense didn't have the better day. on Saturday, because that would mean significant drop-off from a unit that absolutely needs to be on point for Clemson to be successful this year. I think the key points for both sides is that South Carolina's offense needs to be running on all cylinders, and Clemson's defense can't show any drop-off from the players they lost from last year's national championship.
All right, Dabo Swinney, more from him coming up a little bit later on here on Sports Talk. We'll also hear from Kelly Bryant. And if you missed Will Muschamp with us live on Sports Talk at 6:15, we'll have a little bit of a flashback for you a little bit later on. What from our conversation before I get to recruiting, anything in the conversation that we just had with Muschamp really jump out at you?
I like what he said about the offensive line. In my opinion, that's the point of most contention, I would say, with a lot of South Carolina fans, just from the feedback that we've gotten in the week and a half that I've been here, is that that's probably the point of most contention. And going back to your initial question to him, how confident he feels about a defensive unit that lacks experience and lacks considerable depth, in my opinion. But if he has identified players that can be immediate contributors who we haven't seen on the field for USC, that's a very big plus for a unit that we didn't necessarily expect a lot out of.
Well, you know, looking at the offensive line, you got to say that when he initially came here and they recruited Hutcherson, they said he's the athlete. We have to put some weight on him, but he looks like a great left tackle. He'll be left tackle. And if you think that Dennis Daly came in from JUCO and is now entrenched in a tangle at left tackle, and you move Hutcherson over to guard, that makes me think they're comfortable at left tackle and getting a little bit more athletic at the guard position. So the offensive line may show some promise.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned that, because when we talked to Malik Young last week, Malik Young was repping first team at the left tackle position, but then when they came out for practice on Friday morning for the media availability, Dennis Daly was getting the first team reps at left tackle. And we asked Malik Young about that battle and how he had more time in the system than Daly did, and he's kind of showing him the ropes. The point was made that that could almost be to Malik Young's detriment, because the more he shows Daly, the more that he could probably propel Daly to being that starting left tackle.
We know even your daddy just shows you a few tricks.
Right.
He doesn't tell you all his tricks.
Well, he might have told
something.
He might have told too much. That's what I'm saying.
Got to keep something in the back pocket for the right time in the right place. All right, to recruiting, we go now on this Monday night edition of Sports Talk. Defensive end Raekwon O'Neal of Conway will announce Wednesday night, a little bit after 6 on WPDE TV 15 in Myrtle Beach. Last night he said the decision is made. In fact, he said he made up his mind earlier this month after he completed trips to USC, Rutgers, and Maryland. Georgia State and Illinois were two other schools he considered in the final part of his process. USC, Maryland like him for defense, the others for the offensive line. Last night he said some of the factors that went into his decision: the coaching staff, how they develop the players and have relationships, their environment inside and outside the campus. They have his major, which is graphic design, and the people there too. He said the school he has decided on does know his decision. He also said he talked with USC coach Will Muschamp last night.
Ooh.
I don't know what that really means. I mean, Muschamp
could be saying I'm going somewhere else also.
Well, I mean, if Muschamp knows he's not getting him, but he talked to him last night, it could be one of those things, well, hey, you still have a place with us, or it could have been a follow-up on, man, we're looking forward to having you. Who knows? But that is a fact that he talked to Muschamp last night, according to him.
One thing that's attractive, 3 seniors who are graduating off that defensive line, there's could be a possible immediate playing opportunity for him if he comes here.
For sure. He says, once I'm committed, I'm committed. No other officials except for the one I'm committed to. So we shall see. Be on Channel 15 in Florence Wednesday night. Also, coming up this week, offensive lineman Jerome Carvin, Cordova, Tennessee, USC target, but he's had Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi State high up on his list. He announces Wednesday. Defensive end Azeez Ojulari, Marietta, Georgia, announces on Thursday. He has said his decision likely would come from Clemson, USC, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. I don't get the feeling that USC or Clemson will land either one of these guys just based on conversations. Auburn commitment defensive back Quindarius Monday of Atlanta told 24/7 Sports he will take other officials to Clemson and Georgia. He camped at Clemson this summer and was thought to be a strong possibility for those Tigers before committing to Auburn. Offensive lineman Jackson Carman, Fairfield, Ohio, told Scout.com following a scrimmage Friday night he will take his 5 officials: Clemson, Ohio State, Southern Cal, Florida State, Wisconsin. He'll be an early grad, so the visits will come during the season or into December. Receiver Josh Vann of Tucker, Georgia, told the Big Spur he's probably going to announce his college commitment after his game Saturday. He's been trying to decide between USC and Georgia. All right, break is coming up. We got a little bit more for you, including news on a 2019 USC offer, some good news for Frank Martin, and a couple of baseball commits. That's coming up. We'll be back. All right, coming down. Coming down in 3, 2, 1. Defensive end Raekwon O'Neal of Conway will be the next in-state prospect to announce a commitment. It's coming up Wednesday night, a little bit after 6 o'clock. He's basically down to USC. Take it again. In 3, 2, 1. Defensive end Raekwon O'Neal of Conway is the next in-state prospect to announce his college decision. That will come on Wednesday night. He's down basically to USC, Rutgers, and Maryland. He says he's already made his decision, and the school he has chosen does know about that decision. Meantime, offensive lineman Jerome Carvin of Cordova, Tennessee, is a USC target. He announces on Wednesday with Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi State apparently the highest on his list. And on Thursday, defensive end Azeez Ojulari of Marietta, Georgia, will make his college decision known. He also has Clemson, USC, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee on his list. And wide receiver Josh Vann of Tucker, Georgia, plans to announce his college commitment after his game Saturday. It's USC or Georgia. Phil Kornbluth, South Carolina, Radio Network Sports. Yeah, I am too. That was good. Defensive end Raekwon O'Neal. See if you can clean up Azeez Ojulari. I said of Auburn, Florida, Georgia. And wide receiver Josh Vann of Tucker, Georgia. And on Thursday, defensive end Azeez Ojulari of Marietta, Georgia. Keep going, keep going. Will make his college decision known. He also has Clemson, USC, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee on his list. And wide receiver Josh Vann. Can you take out also? Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. Take out the word also on his list. Georgia will make his college decision known. He also has. Can you take out also? He also. Yeah, you can't. He also. Can you take out? It for 2 times. He also. Keep going. Also has Clemson, U.S. Also has Clemson, USC. Take out. He also has, and just pick it up with Clemson. Clemson, USC, Auburn, Florida, Georgia. Let's see how that sounds. College decision known. Clemson, USC, Auburn, Florida, Georgia. I had to suffer through y'all last night. This will be my 4th straight Yankee game on television. I do love it. Does that work? Okay. That's too much. They ask too much money. I can't get it for free like I can the Sunday ticket.
There's my guy.
I wish we could win a fucking game.
It's time for the final word in sports all across the state. You're listening to Sports Talk with your hosts, Phil Kornbluth and Will Pelagic. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
Back we are, hour number 2, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Open up the phone lines, hear what's on your mind, 800-956-7266. Don't forget, if you ever lose us over the airwaves, you can stay with us on our website. It's a nice, easy way to do it on our website. Just go to the website, click on the video link, our YouTube channel. You can watch us and listen to us that way. You can also pick us up over many of our affiliates who are streaming on the TuneIn app. I cannot emphasize enough how important the TuneIn app is if you are a radio listener.
Love that app.
Also, iHeartRadio, but the TuneIn app really gives you every radio station in the country at your
95%.
fingertips. And if you have the technology, you can put it right into the Bluetooth of your car and listen to us anywhere in the world. It's like we're right there in your backyard.
You said that you use that as a sleep tool, I would say.
Yes, I do indeed. I like to listen to it. Is that?
Whose is that?
That's not me.
That's
Pro.
about
Pro's
to say,
computer is singing at him.
I knew that wasn't me because I knew I I had muted mine.
Yeah. No, I do like to listen to New York radio stations. Love to listen to the traffic report at 5 o'clock just to hear how bungled everything is in downtown New York.
Yankee Phil going at it again. There you go.
All right, 800-956-7266. Our lines are open if you want to get through to us. In the meantime, let me wrap up the recruiting report. I had a couple of other notes to get to. So I think I left off with Josh Van, Tucker, Georgia, apparently going to announce his commitment after his game Saturday, trying to decide between USC and Georgia. USC already has a commitment from a 2019 defensive standout from Cordele, Georgia, linebacker Adarius G. They're now working on his teammate, defensive lineman D'Angelo Griffin, 6'1", 295. They offered him over the weekend. That's his second SEC offer. Arkansas was the first, and he likes both of the SEC offers. He also has Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, UAB, and Western Kentucky. Now, G is his best friend, and they have talked about going to the same school, but it's not an automatic.
That's a key thing, though.
It helps. And he's a big dude, 6'1", 295, 95 tackles and 3 sacks last season.
We like that.
Now, basketball. Sunday, Frank Martin, USC, got some news from a couple of his targets that he's going to be in the hunt with them for a while. 6'5", Aaron Neesmith of Porter-Gaud, and 6'8", Simi Chatou, or I'm just going to say Chatou, Vermont Academy. Neesmith, one of the top players in the state for 2018, and Chatou, one of the elite players nationally. Neesmith recently made an unofficial USC and an official to Vandy, and the Commodores joined the Gamecocks on his list of 7. Also Florida, Georgetown, Virginia Tech, Harvard, and Yale, and he will take an official to Florida later this month. And Chatou, who's a native of Canada, cut his list to 10. USC, Vandy, Arizona State, Kentucky, Connecticut, Arizona, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Oregon, and New Mexico. And I ask you, Chatou, if he hits a 3, can you change his name to
Chatou?
Chatou.
Can you say it Chatou for Chatou?
Yes.
No.
I think you can.
I
think there's so many things you can do with this name. It's not even funny.
Chatou.
Let's just hope he's not Chatou, I would say.
Well, really.
I'm not even going to attempt to be funny because that's a dangerous thing to do with that name.
It's a shaky name, but you can run right through it.
Couple of baseball notes. 2019 infielder Regan Reed, make it Reagan Reed of TL Hanna committed to Clemson. And 2020 right-hander Cade Austin of Chapin committed to USC. So there you go with the recruiting for this Monday night. Don't forget to check it out on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and on Twitter, use the hashtag STRecruiting.
1-800-956-7266. I got it right the first time I tried to do that. My question I would have.
Is that the first time you've given the number?
It is.
Yeah.
Well, here's my question to USC and Clemson fans alike. And again, we're only bringing you what we can because of the fact that a lot of this we cannot see with our own eyes. We have to rely on the coaches and players to relay us about as quickly as what we actually can see. But how has your opinion changed about your respective team as we've gone through about the second week here in camp? Has your opinion gotten more optimistic for USC or Clemson or vice versa? Because in my mind, the more I hear out of Will Muschamp, the more optimistic I feel. And I also feel that the same could be said for Clemson as well.
Yeah. I think that I think in South Carolina's case, if you're a Gamecock fan, you have got to be more optimistic about the season. Now, I don't know where what your baseline is. Was it 6 wins? Was it 7 wins for this season? I mean, I really think if you're a South Carolina fan, you look at the schedule and you go, look, NC State's a winnable game.
It's all win. The
Missouri
only games,
is a winnable game.
The only games that I think are definite.
Kentucky's they got a chance to
Yes.
get out of the gate 4-0.
Exactly.
If they play good football.
The only games that I look at are that are possibly sure losses are the 2 in November with Georgia, or the 3 in November with Georgia, Florida, and Clemson. Those are the only 3 that I think are sure losses. But I think you could even turn that one of those 3 around and put it in your column.
Speaking of Florida, the news today, boy, all of a sudden the line on that, I don't know what the line was, Florida, Michigan.
It's changed.
I got to believe with the announcement that Florida suspended 7 players, including star receiver Antonio Callaway. And I got the feeling, just from some of the comments that I have seen from Jim McElwain, this could be more than just a 1-game deal for these guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you heard what they're accused of doing, according to the AP. Apparently, they were accused of misusing some of their state-appropriated funds, possibly stipends in terms of that. So, in that vein, anytime you're dealing with money that's not yours, that is not a good look, and that needs to be
Anything
addressed.
like book money?
Yeah. Well, this is more dramatic, I think.
Yeah,
so in the case of an Antonio Callaway, I mean, how far do you go with this young man?
That guy's had a lot.
You've got this particular issue. Before this, he pleaded no contest to misdemeanor possession of drug paraphernalia in May. He was suspended for the spring semester in 2016 amid sexual battery allegations. He admitted in court documents that he smoked marijuana, though he was eventually cleared of the battery allegation by a Title IX investigation. He was internally disciplined following the marijuana citation this spring. He's pretty much run the gamut of crime.
You know, when
drugs, allegation of sexual battery, and now, thievery, whatever you want to call this.
Now you're going to make me look up something tonight, because I want to wonder, if you're guilty of smoking marijuana, how do they deal with that in Colorado and Washington? I mean, well, wait a minute, it's legal. Hold it, but it's a team rule.
It's still against NCAA regulations.
Yeah,
that's the way that they deal with that. It's more like an employee type thing.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, quickly, let's jump to the phones, 800-956-7266. We go to, you said Bob in Aiken? Is that right? Hey, Bob, welcome into Sports Talk tonight.
Hello, Phil. Hello, Tom. How you doing? Willie P., welcome to the family. This is the first time I've called and talked to you.
Thanks, sir. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. I'm Hurricane Bob. I'm from Miami.
Gotcha.
All right. Now, listen. The line for Tom is holding firm to -3 to -10, depending what sports book you go to Las Vegas, Tom, in favor of Michigan.
So you said it's holding firm?
At -3 to -10.
That's a lot. That's a big gap.
Yeah, really.
Well, I mean, they'll eventually post the over/under on VegasInsider.com, and they'll post the firm line. I know USA Today in the state where they get there from. They'll closer to kickoff. But it's like this is.
Well, what was the opening? What was the opening line? Do you remember that?
I think it's between -3 and -10.
I remember when I was in Vegas.
Let me just look this thing up.
I was in Vegas about a month ago, and I remember seeing the line for that game being about a touchdown in favor of Michigan.
Well, it's certainly going to climb now, I would think.
7 players plus 3 points says 10. 7 players plus 3.
But only one of them is actually projected to be on the field.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Let's see here if I can find it very quickly. Where are you? I'm going down the list of games.
Tease it. We'll come back with it.
Yeah, we'll give you that line. In fact, we'll update a few lines since we're on the subject. Give that to you when we come back. 800-956-7266.
We'll update the lines. We will not do the lines. We will not snort the lines. We'll just update the lines.
That's correct, yes.
Well, what do you got that razor blade for?
All right, so just checking the line from the VegasInsider.com, which is when I look at these things, that's what I look at. The line has moved, but only by a point today. Going into today, Michigan and Florida, the line was 2.5. As of as of last night, it moved yesterday from 2.5 to 3.5. I guess did that news come down last night? Yes.
Yes.
Once that news came down last night
or Saturday, I can't remember which day.
I think it came down last night. Yeah, I think it came down last night. So at 5:05 yesterday, the line was 2.5. At 5:20, it moved to 3, and at 5:40, it moved to 3.5. With Michigan laying 3.5, a 3.5-point favor. So it didn't jump all that tremendously. No. I guess they figure, the loss of a key receiver like Callaway is not enough to. If it were a quarterback, it'd be a whole different story.
Quarterback can maybe move it about 3 points from anybody who I've talked to as far as a handicapper goes. Those probably will give you the at least biggest jumps as far as lines go. But a lot of these things, again, factor in a lot more of the broader picture type thing.
But then again, it'll hurt you because that's the quarterback's target, at least as we know out of Florida. So.
The South Carolina NC State line is kind of interesting. You go back and look at the history of the line. Going back to May 26th, NC State opened as an 8-point favorite.
Get out.
Yes.
Wow.
Opened as an 8-point favorite. It decreased to 5 points on July 23rd. Now it's at 6 points. NC State's a 6-point favorite. Last time it was updated on August the 7th.
What do you expect the breakdown fan-wise to be at that game? You think it'll be 50-50?
I think so. NC State has a great fan following. They have they travel. Of course, it's in Charlotte.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about when they go bowling and things like that. They travel extremely well. To them, football-wise, this is a huge game. It's an SEC opponent. True. It's a former rival. It's a statement game for Dave Doeren going into his 5th year. Like we said earlier, opening game doesn't make your season, but it can go a long way into affecting the mentality of your nation, right? About how they're feeling about things.
And let's face it, they think the odds are in their favor because it's been a long time since South Carolina's lost to a North Carolina team. Seems like every time they journey up to Charlotte or somewhere, they win the football game. And NC State fans want to get rid of that hangover against Clemson, too. I know they got a feeling that team really mentally went into a short funk after they blew that game at Death Valley.
And this is, too, I mean, a big recruiting opportunity for both of them because you have South Carolina eyes on an NC State program that gets to be seen twice by South Carolina, at least in-state fans, not only with USC, but also playing Clemson later on in the year.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number here on Sports Talk. We had Will Muschamp with us earlier in the program. If you missed that, the interview's on our website. We'll also have a little flashback for you later on in the show. Clemson practiced Saturday. Did not practice Sunday. The Tigers were supposed to practice today. Dabo Swinney surprised his team by giving them the day off, and they had a little bit of a little fun afternoon of singing and dancing. Did he just take another called strike?
Yeah. Aaron Judge just called third strike.
Yeah. I can't watch this. I can't watch this anymore.
Rafael Montero carving you guys up there. What's the deal?
Being no hit.
The judge recused himself.
I'm telling you. That's not funny. Okay.
The judge has been disbarred.
That is just not funny. Anyway, Dabo Swinney did not meet with the media today. Tigers will practice tomorrow, but flashing back to Saturday when they had their first major scrimmage of the fall, and he talked about the defense doing extremely well and probably winning the day. The offense did some good things. The battle, well, there's not a battle going on for the starting job at quarterback. It's Kelly Bryant who'll be the starter at this point in time against Kent State. Performance will determine where things go from there. But as far as the play of the quarterback, in particular Kelly, he said he had kind of a tough day on Saturday overall, but he did make some good decisions.
All four did some good things. Again, Kelly had a couple of tough breaks. We gets an interception on Tanner Muse, but we don't cut the end. He counted on us to cut the end. You don't cut the end. So the guy gets his hands on it. It's a tip ball. It's a pick. Tips are picks. And so, he had a couple of tough breaks like that, but he made the right decisions. He did what we asked him to do. and that's what we evaluated him on. And you know, he went against outside of maybe one series, he went against the one defense the whole time. But Zarek made some nice plays. I thought DeAndre Overton, it was good to see him. I think he finished on 3 really good balls. Hunter came in, threw a touchdown pass, made a couple other nice throws. Didn't really finish on them, but put them where they needed to be. Made the right decision. And then Chase made a couple of good plays. Chase came in, I think T. Higgins' first catch was a big play. Chase made a great throw there. So they all did a good job. They all had a couple of plays they'd like to have back. But, you know, again, it's just good to be able to go and play. And then defensively, you know, one thing I was very encouraged with them is because I think we're going to have good depth. I think we can have real, you know, strength in numbers over there. But I mixed it up with our swarm group going against our first offense. And we had 2 3 and outs. So it was good to see the defense just kind of go play and respond when I put them in a couple of situations.
All right, Dabo Swinney. More on his scrimmage, more on his quarterbacks from Saturday. We've got, of course, all of that up on the website if you missed it from over the weekend. Comments from Dabo and from Tony Elliott and from Brent Venables. And also we've got up on the website comments from Kelly Bryant, all from Saturday. Fresh Clemson interviews will take place tomorrow. All right, 800-956-7266. A few other notes to pass along to you. Auburn officially named Jarrett Stidham as the starting quarterback for this coming season. And so that battle is over. He beat out Sean White. And we just saw Virginia Tech name their starter.
Joshua Jackson, the redshirt freshman, will be the starting quarterback for Virginia Tech week 1. He was the projected starter coming out of camp. And it's interesting because they have to replace basically almost an entirely new offense, at least from that perspective. So it'd be different for them. They open actually at FedEx Field against West Virginia.
That would mean he would be the first freshman, I think, to start at Virginia Tech since Tyrod Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
But that means he beats out the junior college transfer. I thought that
A.J. Bush.
A.J. Bush was supposed to get the job. So.
And Virginia Tech's a 4.5-point favorite. You got me looking at all these odds now. We've been talking about it. Alabama's a 7-point pick over Florida State. I don't know about that one. I want to think Florida State might win that game, but I just why I keep running into that Alabama thing.
The problem is Florida State's defense. I can't trust that defense right now.
Well, they got that safety back who they missed all of last season, who's such a great player for them, and that's going to make a world of difference. Sort of like what Sky Moore should do for South Carolina.
I think that Clemson kind of provided a little bit of a blueprint for the rest of the nation in that national championship game on how to get to Alabama and to get to Jalen Hurts. Now, whether or not the teams have the ability to reproduce that remains to be seen, but I think that there can be some things to be gained from other teams that will face them.
Well, if Francois plays as well as Watson did against Alabama, then that'll give them a chance, and they really feel good about, even though they've lost Dalvin Cook, they've got Jacques Patrick, and they've got a freshman running back who's a stud coming in. All right, back to the phones we go, and it is Carl in Columbia. Carl, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Willie P.
Thank you, Carl.
Hey, man, Phil.
Yes, sir.
I think Stidham, the quarterback from Auburn, he's going to get to face some real defense in the SEC. He had time at Baylor to run around. They don't play defense out there.
No.
I think that's what's going to be his downfall, that pressure. He won't see pressure. I don't care. Anybody you see in the SEC this year is going to put pressure on him. Hey, Phil, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
If you can find it now, because I know you're the guru, find the call when Watson threw the touchdown to Hunter Renfrow on the Alabama network. I can't find it anywhere. I want to hear the great one call that call.
Now, what network are you talking about?
The Alabama network. He wants to hear Eli Gold. Yeah.
Do you know that every losing play that Alabama has self-destructs after it's taped?
That's why I can't find it, bro.
They destructed, I'm telling you.
We'll look for it. I'd love to hear it too. All right, stay tuned. I think we just found it. Not hard.
I think I have it.
All it takes is a little bit of Googleization, and we'll play that for you coming up since you asked about it. We'll be right back right here on Sports Talk.
Here now, Watson goes right. Looks to throw, has a man open. Here now, Watson goes right. Looks to throw, has a man open. Touchdown.
All right. We're back with you. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Did not take us very long to find this. Carl had asked about it. And, you know, the one thing about 33 now going on 34 years of Sports Talk, when you call and ask, we do deliver. So Eli Gold, one of the great announcers in college football today, on the call for Alabama in the final seconds of that national championship game.
Here now, Watson goes right. Looks to throw, has a man open. Touchdown. Hunter Renfro with 1 second remaining. Touchdown, Clemson.
Wow.
And basically that call was, oh, crap. That's basically what he wanted to say. Oh, crap.
He's had a couple over the last couple of years. That one, the kick six one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you really want, if you're a fan of the other
that
team,
was probably – see, say what you want to about national championships, and I think those are wonderful, and you want to win those really, really badly, but you do not want to lose to your rival.
No.
Especially Alabama, Auburn, but that's I don't put that one above South Carolina, Clemson. But the way the kick six game was lost, that had to be such a dagger to every living Alabama fan.
How would you
rank
the rivalries in college football? I'm curious.
Well, South Carolina, Clemson's the best.
You obviously think so. I understand.
Did you? Hey, would you back up the tape? Did he just say, how would you rank? Did he not ask me that question? I'm telling you, South Carolina, Clemson is the. Now, you, of course, you're new to the territory.
I understand.
You will learn.
I will see. I want to see it.
Well,
I almost want to think that South Carolina, Georgia, just because it means more.
Let me put it this way.
No, it means more. Did you say means more?
Inside the conference, it does.
It does not mean more. Well, inside the conference. No, there's meaning and there's meaning, okay? The rivalry game in this state means everything.
I understand that.
It's the one that you live with. It's the one you hate to lose more than anything else.
I'm not saying it means more from the standpoint of –
ask Dabo Swinney how miserable he was for 5 years.
Oh, believe me.
Even though they were winning 10, 11 games, going to the Orange Bowl and smoking everybody, he lost to South Carolina for 5 years in a row. And Steve Spurrier did not let him forget it at every opportunity. Gamecock fans did not let Clemson fans forget it every opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you what, South Carolina and Clemson is a very interesting rivalry because the state's still relatively small, even though I think South Carolina has passed Alabama in population. But the key point is they're inside one state's borders.
Right.
Now, I will say this. The most vicious rival has to be Alabama-Auburn.
True.
Because when they have fits off the field, if it's an Alabama player complaining about Auburn, they'll get an Alabama lawyer against them. And then if it's the other way around, then they get the guy who graduated from Alabama.
We don't want to like that.
In my limited time here, I've come to realize that there are no two fan bases of these two.
You come from a rival-less state.
Right.
Missouri does not have an in-state rival.
It does not. And I know, and believe me, I understand the in-state rivalry with these two teams means a lot to both of these fan bases. The two fan bases hate each other.
Well, I mean, I know Missouri hated to lose to Southeast Missouri State all those years.
No, their big rival is not even in the same conference with them anymore, very much like Clemson, South Carolina with Kansas.
Yeah,
so
I get that.
From that perspective, it's like,
it's nothing like having your rival at your back door.
Well, they're trying to develop Arkansas into the SEC
That's
rival.
not going to happen.
It's
all
not
right,
going to happen.
Back to the phones, and we go to Charles up in Charlotte. Good to have you with us from the Queen City. Charles, how are you?
Hey, Phil, I just wanted to make one comment about the P-Man. I just wanted to say Carolina usually plays Georgia tough over in Athens, so I wouldn't count that as a loss. You know, Carolina has, if you look at the history, and Phil, you look it up yourself, they've always played Georgia tough in Athens. And they've won some games over in Athens over the years. Did you know that Sparky Woods never lost to the University of Georgia in Athens?
Correct, Amundo.
And I just got to ask you one more question. Is all the place kicking duties for Carolina? I know they got a young man by Wozniak. Who else is competing for the kicking jobs at Carolina? And I'll listen to your comment. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Right now it is Andrew Wozniak. Is it Wozniak or Wozniak? It's
Wozniak.
Wozniak. There's no I in there, right?
No.
Wozniak.
Yeah, there's no I.
No, there's an I. It's not Wozniak. It's just Wozniak.
Wozniak. IAK.
Okay. They have a typo then in their.
No, I probably have a typo. I'll go back and look it up. Yeah. Whatever it is, it's Andrew. I want to say Wozniak.
Yeah, it says Wozniak. Yeah, that's what I said. Woznick is what I said.
Yeah. I've got an A in here.
MOUSC.
Anyway, to answer your question, he is the guy right now.
I like that.
And Joseph Charlton has been doing the punting. Michael Allman has been doing the punting. As far as anybody else competing at place kicker, I'm trying to remember if Muschamp said anybody else on Saturday from the presser. I think he said
that maybe there was going to be somebody different holding kickoffs, I think, or something like that.
It's going to be Wozniak's job, I'm pretty sure. He's got a strong leg. He is brand new at the position. He is a walk-on. He's going to be kicking in front of a crowd for the first time, a big crowd in front of for the first time. But it's going to be his job at this particular point.
And, of course, Charlton was this much better punter when he came in, but he had sort of a back problem his freshman year.
Yeah.
Had to do that. But nothing would compare when they had their punter and the kicker, and the punter's name was Fish, and the kicker, of course, name was Elliott Fry. So it was Fish Fry every time he came on.
Absolutely. In fact, I think we named him Fish Fry.
Yes, we did.
Right here on Sports Talk. We do that.
You have nicknames for people.
Everybody's got a nickname.
Gotcha.
Some have good nicknames, and then some have nicknames
just
like
happen to have last names that work, Fish and Fry.
All right, let's go back to the phones. Wes in the PD. Wes, welcome to Sports Talk tonight. How are you?
What's up, Cornblood? This is your buddy from the TV station down here. I got a question about Aaron Judge. He's on my fantasy team.
Drop him.
Me right now.
Drop him.
No. You don't drop him. You can't. That dude's too much good. My thing is, with the way the Yankees are playing and the way the Braves are building for the future, who do you think is going to win the World Series sooner, the Braves or the Yankees?
The Yankees, if that's a serious question. But
seriously,
well, I mean, we're in the wild card league. We have the best record for the wild card, I think, right now in the American League. You know, even though last night was a poison pill, no question about it. I mean, it was a crap sandwich to have to sit there and take that. Believe me.
I enjoyed
it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, you got that game won. You got it won. And Chapman, who struggled on Friday night, he couldn't throw a strike, but somehow he survived. He came out and he was throwing BBs. And then, you know, it happens. A guy closed his eyes, swung the bat met ball flew out of the park.
The ball was just, over a little bit too much of the plate. Phil, you could have got out there and swung as hard as you could.
If you got the right wood on it, you're going to knock it out of the park too, because he's throwing it 102 miles an hour.
Yeah. But you got to put the right wood on it. As
what
you
they
said.
always say: the faster it comes in, the faster it goes
it
out.
goes out.
That-
And you
that's
really
true.
don't have
But to answer
swing
your
that
question,
hard.
I think the Braves are. There was a period of time, brief as it was this year, when the Braves got to 500 and looked like they could maybe make a bit of a run, and then they just totally lost it, and have dropped out of sight.
Well, your left fielder got
they're building
injured.
for the future.
I beg your pardon?
They're building for the future.
No doubt. And you know what? It can happen. The Braves could bounce. Everything could come together for them next year, and they could be a contender. Look, they were saying last night the Yankees are actually, even though in New York there's nothing like today, they don't look to the future. But with their youngsters they've brought up and the other youngsters they have in their farm system, they feel like the Yankees are maybe a year or two ahead of schedule.
One thing that we were talking about yesterday, Phil, going back to our disdain of the Children's World Series. Apparently, they're playing a major league game in the Children's World Series.
Children's World Series.
That's what I'm calling it. That's what I call it. I don't call it. It's the Children's World Series. They're playing a game in Williamsport between the Cardinals and the Pirates in the Children's World Series ballpark.
I think the Little League World Series is a great thing for the kids.
But you don't want to televise.
I just don't see why I know why it's being televised, because it gives ESPN daytime and evening program fodder.
And it's Disney.
But what I don't like is the analysis of 12, 13, 11-year-old baseball players.
It's very invasive. It's very
I would be
invasive.
very uncomfortable as Carl Ravitch or the people they put in the booth to sit there and talk about an 11-year-old and his curveball.
They're really not that critical, though.
I didn't say critical, but they do analyze. And they talk about a guy's pitching and a guy. I'm not saying they treat them like major leaguers, but they can't just sit there and say, strike one,
but
strike two.
They show the parents, they show the fans, they show the kids. They got to go out.
You watch it. I ain't watching.
Very vanilla.
And again, you got some guys back that had some injuries. Corey Helms and Allen, not both last year. Well, I think that again, you got some guys. Youth, they don't know how to focus. Every honest with you, we had a good, but we needed it.
Yeah.
We're going to play at 3:00 on September 2nd. We scrimmaged.
Back at Sports, Bill Kornblut, Will Pelagic, Professor Will Muschamp, who just
Well, it was really
minutes ago. Coach, how are you?
afternoon. We need to get in the heat. Pretty proud of our guys today. On wood, things have gone pretty work. They can play a over conversion, throw and catch. But again, I think groups that we certainly would like to have better and really good teams, championship teams that I've been a part of. I've been a part of one attitude or the other. And from that standpoint, we've made some progress.
The one thing I took from your comments Saturday after the scrimmage unit defense.
I do. I think that up front, Taylor need to be. Uric Jones had his element and take the number. I feel we just got to get more guys consistently doing it right. It's one thing to have a good. Oftentimes that goes back to youth. They don't know how to focus, so we've got to get more consistent.
Am I
Yes, I do. I think that, you know, the depth concerns you, and again, I
It is Sports Talk here on a Monday night from downtown Columbia. Appreciate you being with us. Always enjoy spending 2 quality hours with our good friends all across the state of South Carolina. 800-956-7266, the number. If you have a quick comment or question for us here on Sports Talk. Earlier tonight, we had Will Muschamp on with us. He had just come off the practice field, a hot day. That was the first thing he mentioned. It was a real hot and humid day. And, they practiced Saturday, they scrimmaged, and today they practiced at about the same time they're going to play in Charlotte in a couple of weeks. So they're trying to get the players used to that time of the day and what the conditions are going to be like. We asked him about a number of different things, of course. One was about his defense. He made the comment after the scrimmage on Saturday basically saying, my front 11 guys, I really like them. I think we can go to battle with those guys. And I asked him tonight if I was understanding him correctly, that indeed his starting 11 on defense is going to be good, and he feels like they can compete well with that defense.
Yes, I do. I think that, the depth concerns you, and again, I emphasize not about talent, but experience. And, at the end of the day, right now our second group of linebackers, Sherrod Green and Eldridge Thompson, I think they're good players. I think they're going to be fine, but they need to continue to progress and get more game ready to be able to back up Sky and TJ. There's no doubt about that. And obviously Bryson can be in that mix as well. But, up front, Taylor Stallworth's done some really good things. Dante Sawyer, Keir Thomas continues to be a guy that progresses the right way. I've been pretty pleased with him, but we just need to be more consistent inside right now. We need more consistent performers inside. I thought Uric Jones had his best practice since I've been here today. I thought he battled through the element, and for a big man over 300 pounds to take the number of snaps that we took today and push him like we did, I was proud of him. So, but we just got to get more guys consistently doing it right. It's one thing to have a good day today, and then tomorrow you don't know what you're going to get, and that oftentimes that goes back to youth. They don't know how to focus every single day and go and practice the way you're supposed to, and that's what we've got to get is more consistent.
And that kind of speaks more to kind of some of the things we heard from him on Saturday too, as well, because, and one of the things I asked him too on Saturday is how you go about identifying those players outside of the ones you've already seen on the field and on Saturday play and have big contributing roles to that defense. What things do you look for? You look for that consistency. You look for the ability to learn on the fly. And so much so is you don't want to be holding your hand with a lot of these guys when they're on the field. You want them to be able to be self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm. Well, the key point about Uric Jones, and I told Phil, I thought when I first saw him, he was very aggressive, but he really plays high. And that's why I think the previous staff tried to move him over the offensive line. That didn't work. But the interesting thing about it, Corn, is when South Carolina plays teams that throw those quick square ends, and then you got a guy that's that tall. Uric Jones, I believe, last year probably got his hands on more tip passes than any other player because of what he does that you don't like, and that is he plays high.
Yeah, he is a load, and they say he's playing well. You heard Muschamp talk about him today, how he fought through the heat for a big guy. He was really pleased about that. I want to go back to our caller who asked about the kicking competition. I knew there was somebody else. It's Parker White is the other competitor. And right now he's the kickoff man for the Gamecocks.
Right. I knew
But he is the one who is competing with Andrew Wozniak for the kicking job.
I want to ask you, would you rather see more of an athletic defensive line that comes with a speed rush from the outside, or would you rather see guys who were, these bigger guys like inside, like you see with Stalwart and Norwick Jones? You want to see more athleticism on the outside, or do you want to see more of the, of the big people movers inside?
You mean in terms of improvement, or what would you rather have? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. What would you rather have?
Athletic.
Well, in today's world, you've got to be able to run on defense. With the spread formation, you've got to have guys who can get out and cover the flanks. You've got to have guys who can run down the quarterback from behind,
right,
prevent big plays. So the more athletic type, listen, give a defense, look at Clemson with Dexter Lawrence and Christian Wilkins. That's the perfect combination of both.
Right.
You're talking about big guys who can run.
Right.
Jadeveon Clowney, a big guy who can run. If you can find that kind of combination, you're going to be just fine.
Those guys don't grow on trees.
The more athletic guys is the reason why more offensive coordinators went to the shotgun.
Right.
Because when you take 4 steps back out from center, those guys are breathing down your neck.
The guy who I think needs to take the most significant step up on that defensive line is DJ Wanham. And I think you want to be able to at least use him in those type of specialty rush situations. Also, maybe even drop him back a little bit. In my mind, you need to kind of develop that next generation of defensive line. You have 3 stalwart seniors there, at least in the 2 deep. You need to be able to have somebody who you can count on beyond this year and also even this year in order to be able to get some sustained pass rush.
Can I correct myself for something? This is a correction number 1 of the show.
Go ahead.
I was butchering Wozniak's last name, and I'm just looking at my own depth chart that I keep, and it's Alex Wozniak.
Yes.
You probably said that. I might have said Andrew Wozniak.
Yes.
I was just double checking there as you were talking. Yes, it's Alex Wozniak and Parker White, the 2 guys competing for the kicking job at South Carolina.
Correct.
All right. Just wanted to make sure I corrected myself on that. Couple of minutes to go. 800-956-7266. Let me clear up a few other news notes of the day. Keenan football coach Sean Gilley has been suspended for the season opener against Newberry. This according to the state. He also wasn't allowed to coach in the 2 jamborees over the weekend. A loss to Swansea and a loss to Dreer. The school athletic director, the District 1 athletic director, would not comment on the situation because it's a personnel matter. Gilley was 3-7 in his first season last season at Keenan. Mike Williams, the NFL Network, could see the field as early as October. NFL Network reported today.
Yes,
Am I correct on that?
Correct. Still dealing with that herniated disc in his back, and they're saying he might start the season on the physically unable to perform list. The team has not confirmed that yet, but according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, he will be eyeing a return in the month of October.
The Clemson, another former Clemson receiver, Jermone Hopper, has signed a multi-year deal with the Houston Game Tigers. This according to his agents, Premier Athletic Advisors. So the Texans to the state of South Carolina. Now,
Clemson
Hopper
players
did not complete his career at Clemson. Remember, he left as a grad and went where? Do you remember where he went?
I can't recall.
Yeah. And so he is going to get a shot with the now why, but I find this is why this was put out by his agents. Why would the Texans sign Jermone Hopper to a multi-year deal? I mean, what is that based on? He hasn't done anything to deserve a multi-year deal, has he? Since he just came out of he worked out for the Texans a week ago, and he participated in the 49ers minicamp. I'm sure it's a non-guaranteed situation there.
He went to I'm trying to see if there's anything on that.
All right, while you're looking that up, I'll mention this as well.
Iowa State.
Yes, Iowa State.
Iowa State. Yes. Kent State fired its head football strength and conditioning coach today, Ross Boucher, after determining that he provided the school with false information necessary to hold his position. This was uncovered by the university as part of a review following a CBS Sports investigation that was unable to find certification for Boucher, who was in charge of a June 13th workout in which a player died.
Yeah, it's sad.
So, of course, Kent State is the program that Clemson will open with. The athletic director at Coastal Carolina, Matt Hogue, told the Charleston Post and Courier about future football games for the Chanticleers. He says they have agreed to play South Carolina a couple of times over the next few years. Kansas is coming to Conway in 2020.
Oh my!
To play in the new stadium.
They might win that
stadium.
They might win that game, Coastal.
Yeah, they might.
They have a.
You know how bad Kansas is?
They have future
Terrible.
games with UCLA as well for Coastal Carolina.
Can I get a bet in Vegas on that KU Coastal game?
Home and home with UMass and UAB for this year. So
get your bookie on the phone. I want to place a bet.
Some of what they are developing schedule-wise as a brand new member of FBS.
They should have kept Mangino.
That'll do
they
it.
couldn't afford his food budget.
Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.